All right, today we are going to be doing Investigation 1, Water Observations. We are going to be looking at water. Okay, here's a little droplet here of water. So let's take a look at our essential questions. What happens when water gets spilled, splashed, or dropped on something? Does water do the same thing on all surfaces? We are going to explore our answers to that question today. The purpose of our lesson is to observe the properties of water. And if you remember, we talked about properties in our Earth Materials unit on rocks and minerals. And a property is a characteristic of a material, something you can observe, such as shape, color, temperature, and smell. We are going to compare how water interacts with 4 materials. A paper towel, okay, a paper towel, small piece of paper towel, looks like that. A piece of wax paper, okay, this is wax paper. A piece of aluminum foil, okay, and a piece of drawing paper or printer paper, if you would like to call it, okay. So we're going to be looking at those 4 materials. Now, what are the materials, other materials that you're going to need? Well, you're going to need a place in your home or the classroom where it's okay to get things wet. It'll be for easy cleanup. You are going to need a small cup of water. Okay, see here I have a small cup of water. It could be any cup, doesn't matter. And of course, I just showed you those 4 materials. You're going to need a plastic dropper. Okay, this is a plastic dropper. And you are going to need your science notebook open to page 2. And you need to put that somewhere on the side. It's called Water on Surfaces. It is Science Notebook page 2. Okay, and you can keep that somewhere within your vicinity of where you are sitting, okay, or working. All right, so without any further ado, we are going to get started. All right, I have a tray here, and on my tray, I'm going to put my materials. I have my printer paper, okay, my drawing paper. I have my aluminum foil. I have my wax paper and my paper towel, okay? And I have my dropper inside of my water. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up my dropper, okay? And it's a very simple thing to do. You stick it in the water. You squeeze it like so, and then the drops will come out, okay? So you are going to be drawing and describing what you observed when you put on all 4 of these surfaces, okay? So as your paper looks like that, you're also going to be exploring with those materials in front of you. So you are also going to have to describe what you saw. So go ahead and get your materials together. Okay, pause the video if you need to, and make sure you have everything you need set up. And I'll put everything in the center there for you to see what you're going to need. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to squeeze my dropper, and I'm going to observe what happens. I'm going to start here with the paper towel. I'm going to do a drop at a time. Whoa, do you see what's happening there? Drop it in another spot. Drop it in another spot. And the paper towel is absorbing the water. Okay? That's a key vocabulary word. The word is absorb. Do you see how it has absorbed that? You could pick it up, kind of feel where you feel it's wet, but it's absorbed into the paper towel. Okay? Let's take a look at the wax paper, which is right here next to us. Okay. Do you see that? Let's do a couple more. Whoa! The droplet is just sitting there. It's like a little tiny circle. Let's get a little closer and see. How cool is that? It's not doing anything, but just sitting there on the wax paper. Whoa, that is super cool. Now, I wonder what happens if I take my dropper and I go on top of another one. It just makes it bigger. Look at that. Bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Holy cow, that's really cool. Okay. All right, so that's what happens there. Now, let's see what happens over here on this piece of white paper. Oh, it's not being absorbed into the paper. Just kind of, sort of sitting there. It's not like the paper towel. A little bit different. Interesting. And now let's see what happens when it goes on the piece of aluminum foil. Ooh, kind of looks like it did on the paper, except it looks on the paper it's starting to seep through. So it's actually going through the paper there. Pick that up and look. You can see it through and feel it there. Okay, you can feel it, how it's little moist there on the bottom. But here on the aluminum foil, there's your water droplet. Oops. Let's see here. You can hear it plopping, but you can't feel it underneath. The surface of the aluminum foil is a little bit sturdier. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at what we have here. Now, we didn't pick this one up. I'm curious, if we pick this one up. Whoa, 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 whoa. Look, 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 look. Oh my goodness. The water droplets are catching each other. Look, look, but it's still leaving an imprint. Look at that big water just sliding around there on the wax paper. That's really cool, but it's still left an imprint where the original water droplets were. What a cool observation. I'll put a couple more on there just so we can see what originally it looked like in comparison. Now, I am going to take my my pictures, or I'm going to draw a picture now, okay, in my science notebook. Let me see if I can turn this to the side. Okay, turn it to the side, have my paper over here so I can help myself draw it so it looks a little bit more accurate. So here's the wax paper. So the wax paper was just like this. Okay, it kind of looked like these big bubbles that are right here, and you had that big one that went right there. And this one was kind of like faded, so I'm going to do like the faded drop, just because when we tried to connect them together, it left the residue of the water droplet there. Okay, then I'm going to move this over just a tad so I can do the paper towel, which I have in a different spot, which is fine. Just turn it over. We have our paper towel there. So over here, I'm going to draw, okay, my big, and look how it's spread. Because if we go back and we think about that, take a look at this. Okay, see how it was smaller and then it spread. It absorbed inside of the paper towel. Okay, so we had some big droplets that look like that small droplets turned into spreading into big droplets. Okay, then we had our aluminum foil, and our aluminum foil's right there. Okay, and when we take a look at that, the water is still there on there. Okay, it's moving around. It's definitely moving around, but it's staying on the aluminum foil itself. So it's kind of like, depending on how I move it around, we can add a couple more drops to it just to kind of help give us that visual. Yeah, you can see that much more clearly there. So I can add that in. Okay, and then for my white paper, that just made round circles that seeped through. Okay, so now I have drawn my pictures of what it looks like. So here are my pictures, okay, of what it looks like on those different surfaces. Now I have to explain in writing. Okay, we want to make sure we're scientifically correct in terms of the vocabulary that we're using. So let's take a look just at the wax paper. So I'm going to pull that off, okay, and we'll look at these separately so we can do our writing. All right, so here we have the wax paper. So we'll do our writing to go with it. And look, when we did it, it literally becomes just a drop that sits there. Okay, the water forms a droplet that just sits there. Okay? And it's like kind of like three-dimensional. It definitely looks 3D. In a 3D form. And then if we move the wax paper around, the water droplets connect and make larger droplets. Okay? They connect to each other. Okay? And what is left behind? You feel free to touch it. That's definitely a property. Okay? A property is touching, seeing, all of those things. Okay? So it leaves, and it's not coming off. So it leaves a water stain when moved. All right. So that, my friends, is our wax paper. Now, I'm going to move our wax paper there. I'm going to dry this off just a tad. Okay, I'm going to move on to our paper towel, which is the next section here. For our paper towel, it's already starting to sort of dry some. Okay, so what happened was the water absorbed the paper towel. The water spread. First, it spread into a larger circle, into a large circle. It absorbed the paper towel. Okay, and you can feel how moist it is. The rough part of the paper towel is there. It made it softer, okay, and more moist. Made the towel softer and moist. Okay, we got some key vocabulary words there. We got the word absorbed. We have spread, moist, okay, connect. That's connecting to each other. We've got the word droplet. These are all words that we use when we're being very specific in our observations. All right, so now let's take a look at the aluminum foil. Okay, our aluminum foil here, and again, I see a couple of those circles. I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit more there so you can see it just sort of sits there. But over time, it seems when it moves, it kind of forms a puddle. So and it's definitely not like a three-dimensional shape. It's maybe slightly, but it spreads out a little bit more. Okay, the water spreads out, spreads some into a circle, and when connected, forms a little puddle. Okay? All right, because definitely when connected, it forms sort of like that little puddle, but it still can move around very easily. Okay, it's definitely not absorbing the material like the paper towel. All right, so I got a water droplet there. Okay, the last one is the white paper. Okay, and look at that. You can use some words that we used in our Earth Materials unit. It almost looks like, well, it's not transparent, certainly not translucent, but it definitely allows you to look, if you look into the light, look, there's some light there. So you can sort of see through it. It's almost translucent and a little bit translucent. It's pretty cool. Okay, so it kind of looks like just dots. Okay, it looks like dots. Like circular dots. Circular dots. I guess a dot is circular, however you want to say that. And it really doesn't spread much. It doesn't spread too far, like the paper towels spread a lot further. So it definitely doesn't spread too far. And what other observations did we say? We said it was definitely, there was some translucent, okay? You can see where the water hits the paper, it's more translucent. And that's a nice key vocabulary word. It is quite translucent, as you can see light through the water. Okay. All right, friends, and I will hold this up here so we can look at it all together. Water on surfaces. And that, my friends, is an end to our very first experiment. I hope you had fun. Make sure to clean up after yourselves and make sure you submit a picture of your work to your teacher. See you in the next lesson.